It has been a month since BS Yediyurappa was sworn in as the Chief Minister of Karnataka. It has been a week or so since cabinet ministers were sworn in after him. But they haven't been allotted ministries. So Karnataka's Chief Minister BS Yediyurappa was to send new portfolios on cabinet allocation today, but it hasn't been done. More than 3 weeks after he was sworn in and 1 week after the cabinet formation, the allocation of the 17 cabinet portfolios are still pending. Now, this basically means that the citizens are still going to have to wait. Now, you remember that as far as the citizens of Karnataka are concerned, they have been waiting from the time the JDS and the Congress alliance started trouble, and those first set of MPs actually ran away to Mumbai. Since then, civic issues, farm crisis, relief work for the recent floods that hit the state, killing over 60 people and damaging hundreds and hundreds of homes. The state government, which needs to be in a hurry right now to fix people's lives, was only in a hurry to put itself in power. Today, when they're in government, where is the service that they're supposed to give to the people? Take a look.
ಡಿಸೈಡ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ರಾಜ್ಯಪಾಲ ಕಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತೇನೆ ಇವತ್ತಿಂದ ನಾಳೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ ಕ್ಯಾಬಿನೆಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಯಾರ್ಯಾರು ಇರಬೇಕು ಯಾವ ಪೋರ್ಟ್ಫೋಲಿಯೋ ಕೊಡಬೇಕು ಅನ್ನೋದ್ರ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ರಾಜ್ಯಪಾಲರಿಗೆ ನಾನು ಕಳಿಸ್ಕೊಡ್ತೇನೆ.
We have had a long delay with the Chief Minister trying to get his cabinet. And I, as a women's rights activist, would also like to place on record that 3 people in that cabinet two of them have been people who have been watching porn, and the other one who was very concerned about Priyanka Gandhi's breasts. I mean, these are the kind of people we are thinking are sitting there, making policies for the citizens, and it is the taxpayers' money, and not moving a step forward. And this is also the monsoon season, so you know that roads are in absolute bad condition, absolutely bad. Of course, we can all question and say, why is the substandard road even allowed to be constructed? But that is secondary. What are these people doing? Why are these ministers not on their toes working? They have already come in late, and their payments do not get delayed. Their perks are not cut short. Everything is given to them. So why are they not working? Who do we hold accountable? Should we hold the CM accountable? Should we hold all of these ministers who've been appointed by him? Should we hold the party accountable? Because I think at the end of the day, all these people seem to be indifferent and feel that they are not accountable, and personally they are also not responsible to the citizens.
The previous coalition government, we had the same problem. There's no actual development has taken place. The previous government had the same issue of infighting, portfolio problem issues, money and power was the issue in that government, and they were so busy among themselves that they did not look towards the development of Karnataka.
Because of this unstable government, all this work has been put on hold, especially the budget has been put on hold. All the tenders have been cancelled, so have been stopped. So we are at the mercy of these politicians.
I mean, you're allowing an number of amount of property destruction in terms of cars, vehicular damage, damage to property. That's not, the government really doesn't give a two hoots about it, because they're happy with their taxes, they're happy with collecting their money on the side.
Well, simple questions. How much longer will the citizens of Karnataka have to wait to get any work done in the state? And what is really the delay? That's the question we're asking this evening. On the show with me, Vivek Reddy for the BJP. Chetan is an activist who's been working on the ground, especially in flood-affected areas. He's also a very popular actor in Karnataka. We're happy to have him on the show. Mr. Veerappa Moily, former Chief Minister of Karnataka. And we also have Tara Krishnamurthy join us, who is a social activist who's been working on the ground, talking about what citizens need or what they want from the government at this point and for the last several months. Mr. Moily, I will start with you. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. This is Faye D'Souza from the Mirror Now studio. I want to understand from your point of view, Mr. Moily, citizens of Karnataka have now been waiting for a very long period of time. First, there was the problems within the JDS and the Congress. Now it is the BJP government and the state that has not appointed ministers. What do you think the problem is, and how much longer do you think the citizens are going to have to wait before politics in the state settles down?
I think the citizens of Karnataka are totally confused. With all anxiety, they formed a government without majority. And definitely invoking defection of more than 17 people, MLAs. And those 17 MLAs also, they are in the Trishanku planet. Their membership has been cancelled. They are going around to Delhi to move the Supreme Court, but Supreme Court also is not disposed of the cases. Other thing, it looks as if the high command of BJP has no faith at all with the present chief minister. That is how it looks. Otherwise, he must have made more than 6 trips to New Delhi. And, every time comes back, either without the list of the minister. Of course, the list of the minister is only partial, only 17 ministers. And they have been given, I think, just now the announcement came that the portfolio is being distributed. And 17 districts of Karnataka are suffering because of the flood. That is the heaviest, unprecedented flood. But the government of India, the Home Minister, Amit Shah comes here, Finance Minister, Nirmala Sitaram comes here, not a single paise has been released. This never happened in the history of government of India or in the state, Karnataka. In fact, I remember that when there was flood in Kerala, Dr. Manmohan Singh visited personally, conducted the review, immediately released 2,000 crores at that time. Even in Chennai, same thing happened. Even in Karnataka, he came around Raichur and he announced 1,500 crores. But here, not even a pie has been released. I don't know what is happening around. And even the state government has not released. More than 10 lakh people have been affected, lost the homes, and lost jobs. Crops have been damaged, streets have been damaged, everything. And I don't think this kind of anarchy has happened any time in the history of Karnataka. And this is what is happening around. And some of the ministers did not get the portfolio, and number of MLAs belonging to the BJP, they are restless because they did not become ministers. I think this kind of an impasse. I think if the High Command has no faith in Yediyurappa, let them go for a president's rule, and at least let there be a governor's rules at least here, so that people can definitely have some government worth the name. Even how can they even stop the budget is being passed in the city corporation of Bangalore? Almost all, there are many municipalities without election of the president. They are all waiting. And I don't think this kind of an anarchy has prevailed anywhere. There are the people of Karnataka elected 27 BJP MPs. And what are they doing? We don't find any voice. They are all voiceless. And sometime we thought that Amit Shah has some power. And even he is just waiting for the Prime Minister to take a decision. Prime Minister has no time. He can visit any country. Of course, I can understand the G20 meeting is very important. But what was he doing earlier? He has not made any visit to these places. And people are suffering. Not only here, but many other states also. Karnataka is more acute. So I think, every decision has to wait for him. As a home minister, he is in charge of the natural disaster. And why he cannot take a decision? And there is a disaster committee which is headed by him. And why not even a single meeting is held?
Yes,
Look
in
into
fact,
this
Mr.
problem.
Mr. Moily.
Just by sending a team here,
yes,
it is not going to serve the purpose unless it is action oriented.
Yes, let me just bring in Vivek Reddy, Mr. Moily.
And such an irresponsible state government, irresponsible central government, and irresponsible ministers.
Okay,
and both in the center and here.
Well, I just want to point out, if I may, that that as we were speaking, the cabinet portfolios have now been announced by the government, by the governor's office. And that cabinet portfolio has come out, and we will just put it up on the screen in a little while. But the questions are still valid and should be answered. Vivek Reddy of the BJP is with us. Mr. Reddy, was there a lack of faith or a lack of communication between the state government and the party high command in Delhi? Because Mr. Yediyurappa there was an inordinate delay between being sworn in and bringing in a cabinet. A month is a very long time.
Well, Faye, I don't think there was any such delay. I guess the cabinet expansion got delayed because there was huge floods in between. The party and the government did not want to take up the expansion when everybody was involved in the relief measures. In fact, it would have sent a wrong signal to expand the cabinet at the peak of the floods, which Karnataka was facing,
Mr. Reddy,
which was perhaps never before seen. I mean, it was very rare to see such huge floods. This is one.
without a cabinet, what flood relief were you doing?
When once the cabinet got expanded, well, the whole government machinery was running around. The DCs, the local officers, everybody was there, opening camps, catering to the flood relief, opening kendras, rehabilitation kendras, and the DCs, all the officers were moving around 24 hours. The Chief Minister was there running around throughout the state. And in fact, the Chief Minister has received exceptional response for handling of the floods. He's done a very good job. And the centre also has sanctioned about 4,000 crore assistance to all the flood affected states, out of which 1,000 crore on August 20th was for Karnataka.
Not to Karnataka.
Having regard
Not
to all this, I don't think Mr.
Modi
Modi could blame the government. Well, it will come. It has been announced on August 20th, just about 3 or 4 days ago.
Blame you?
Now, the issue is that the center has been responsive. The state government also has been responsive. The problem is here as to why the portfolios had to be delayed for 7 days was to select the right people for the right job.
Okay.
In Karnataka, you will have to ensure that there is regional balance. There is representation to every segment of society, every sector of society. And one second. Proper people are selected so that the government gets
Mr.
going.
Reddy, haven't you argued on this very channel in the past?
One second.
Mr. Reddy, you've argued on this very channel in the past that selections of ministers in portfolios should be made based on merit and not based on representation. In fact, you and I had this conversation after the central government actually had its entire cabinet vote sworn in, and you said this is merit based and it is not about representation, which is why there's no minority representation in the cabinet of the central government. You're making the exact opposite argument right now when it comes to the state. But let's leave that. Let's focus on merit, Mr. Reddy. There are two gentlemen I want to talk about, Lakshman Savadi and CC Patil. Okay, two individuals who were
regional portions.
One second. Mr. Lakshman Savadi and Mr. CC Patil, two individuals who were watching pornography inside the assembly house of the government of Karnataka in the Vidhana Saudha, have been sworn in again. What is their specific skill that you cannot do without? Can you explain to me, please?
Well, Faye, if a person has seen these things and he has resigned from the ministry, then he has paid for it. And there is time to make amends. It does not mean that the person is disentitled forever in his life. Don't you think that even for the hardest of criminals, we apply the reformative theory?
So
don't you think?
That was not my question. One second. Vivek Reddy. I'm very happy that you are a very forgiving party. I'm very happy you're a very forgiving party. But my question is, you can't find anybody else in the whole state of Karnataka.
It is not a forgiving party. Why should it be a forgiving party?
These two porn-watching individuals are the only ones you can find. You can't find replacements for them in the whole state.
Faye,
what is their specific talent that you cannot do without?
I don't think, they have already resigned their positions. They have paid for it once.
By whose
Should they again pay for it forever in their lifetime?
Who's decided that they paid for it?
That they can never better themselves and become good?
They can never represent us.
This is the message that comes out.
Does the message that is coming out, Mr. Reddy,
according to Faye D'Souza, they cannot become better.
Yes.
They're damned for life.
I'll tell you what.
I don't think you should have such a hard view.
Okay, one second, hang on. You should be able to listen in order to hear the message. The message is that according to you, the women of the state don't matter. That it doesn't matter what someone does, you will keep bringing them back because you can't find people to put in government who respect women. You just can't find them. Doesn't matter
Well,
how
we
much
have
you
not
look.
brought in
You keep coming back,
incompetent
circling
persons
back to
like
these same
Rahul
people.
Gandhi and Sonia Gandhi.
They're not in the
We have
Karnataka
not
government.
brought incompetent people, or we have not brought a family. Yes, in Karnataka government, we have brought in people who have had the capacity to work.
All right.
We have not brought in incompetent people like the
Let me get
Congress.
two people from
The Congress for
completely.
ages,
I mean, come
for
on,
70
Vivek
years,
Reddy.
relies
You're
on
a
the same
lawyer.
family, though it is
Stay
incompetent.
on point.
But
We're
Faye
talking
D'Souza
about
does not ask a
Karnataka.
question.
There are people from Bangalore who are watching. Stay on
I am
point.
staying on point. I am
All right.
staying on point, and I am asking this question.
Chetan
Why
is with
not?
us
I mean,
right now.
they
Chetan
have
was
resigned
actually
from their
in
ministries
flood
then.
effect.
They are
I'm
paid
not
for
here
it.
to talk about Rahul Gandhi because he's completely irrelevant at this point. He doesn't head any government, so he's not answerable to us. People who are
But Faye
currently in
D'Souza has
power,
not
who
asked
head
one question
governments,
to
are
Rahul Gandhi.
answerable to us as citizens. Now,
Though
if
he
you
is
don't want to answer,
incompetent.
don't answer. Chetan is with us. Chetan has actually spent time in flood-affected areas right now,
I have
worked with
already
relief.
answered, but I have not got the
Chetan-
answer.
Chetan, Vivek, I'm going to remind you one more time not to interrupt me when I'm speaking.
Hi,
Chetan, good
Faye, go
evening,
ahead,
and
yeah.
thank you for speaking with us. I just want to understand from you if you
Go ahead,
agree with Vivek Reddy on the point that the Karnataka government has done an excellent job with flood relief and reconstruction so far, and they needn't have brought in the cabinet expansion because it was fine without it.
Faye, first of all, thanks for having me. Also, importantly, we must be specific to say that if BJP has made inroads into Karnataka and South India, it is because of a mass leader such as Yediyurappa and his work for farmers' rights, workers' rights, all these decades as a leader of the BJP party and Karnataka. But Yediyurappa has been very desperate to become chief minister. And as soon as he becomes chief minister, there's a very strong laissez-faire attitude. And there's something that is lacking in the identity of Karnataka that for so many people and for so many decades he has represented. Today, when you do a cabinet selection, it should be under the purview of the chief minister. But instead, he makes consistent visits like every alternate day to Delhi, and he has left the purview and the responsibility of this decision making to the central government and the high command. And that is very disappointing because that shows that rather than caring for the people of Karnataka and the decision making of Karnataka that Mr. Yediyurappa can do, he has left it into the high command's decision to strengthen the party. So the party is more important to Mr. Yediyurappa and the BJP than the people of Karnataka. And that is disappointing because the central government is hijacking this kind of right to choose the ministers. Also, and I have visited flood struggling areas, several areas including Nanjangud, and I've seen the fact that these people, not only have are they in the rehabilitation centers, some of them, but many of them have lost their houses completely. They have nowhere to go back to. And we have no one to hold this accountable. And even the chief minister has not gotten enough money from the central government. And who do we go to? I mean, even the bureaucracy is not running properly because the bureaucracy believes until there's a stable government, they don't want to do their jobs. So in this very turbulent times, if we don't have a strong leader, and if Mr. Yediyurappa can't show the Karnataka identity and fight for the rights of the people, we are going to be left with another government who has failed us, and that's not what Karnataka is looking for.
Yes, in fact, Tara Krishnamurthy is with us as well. Tara has been working on the situation on the ground in Bangalore. Tara, the BBMP budget has been put on hold, which means no work is happening, no tenders have been sent out for Bangalore as a city as well. The roads are a mess. There's garbage piling up at every street corner. It's going from bad to worse. As a citizen, are you disappointed with this government and what it's achieved or not achieved up till now?
Absolutely, Faye. Tara Krishnaswamy here. So the alacrity and the agility shown in coming to power, we certainly don't see that when it comes to governance. In fact, when the government of India itself was recently elected, and when they came to power, they didn't go around stalling or cancelling or halting various state budgets, did they? Not even opposition-led states. So why would a chief minister who comes to power in Karnataka decide to, put on hold the BBMP budget and stall all the work? That doesn't make any sense. It's a different tier, and the BBMP is run by the BBMP Council, and they have, put together a budget, and they're executing to the best of their ability. They have their own flaws, which is a different matter. But why the state should poke its nose and interfere and stall it, especially at a time when Bangalore is reeling from floods on the one hand, we have a snake menace, believe it or not, because of all the flooding. We've received unprecedented amount of rains this time, just after unprecedented water shortage. And yes, we have the peri-urban areas where we've been dumping garbage and they're pushing back on us. It's shameful how we treat our villages that surround Bangalore. And of course, our lakes continue to be a source of problems. So the BBMP has its hand full. And in the meanwhile, salaries and pensions and arrears are not being released to, from BMTC drivers to Paura Karmikas. Everybody has complained about this and continues to complain about it. This is current news. So on the one hand, you have this. On the other hand, you have a duly elected chief minister, quote, mass leader. In a sense, you can say that the BJP has arrived on the national stage not only because they have 300 plus seats, because they have, fully adopted the high command culture, where no decision of any import in the state is being made without, a set of people going and sitting at Delhi in front of the offices of the powers that be.
Tara, as a woman, is there a response that you have right now to these two individuals being put back in the seat of power? The ones that we had, we were concerned about this the previous time. Mr. Vivek Reddy seems to think that they've paid their price and so they should be rehabilitated. Tara.
So I have two comments on that front. One is the first slap in the face is they found one woman, okay, and the newly released portfolios say that she's been given the Women and Child WCD department, Child Welfare Department, right? So in 17 that you picked, all you could find was one worthy woman. According to you, the women of Karnataka do not have merit. Remember that you've picked unelected men. And you've picked pornography watchers, you've picked people that have been accused of corruption and criminal activities in the past, but you have not picked more than one woman and she's been given the WCD, okay? That's number one. Number two, sure, people can be forgiven to move on. I don't see why they should lead the state. Is the BJP, is Mr. Vivek Reddy conceding that you do not have people that have not committed offences to lead? Is that why you're so desperate that you had to pick people who are porn watchers inside the assembly, the highest office of the state? The temple, so-called temple of democracy, is where they were watching porn. Is Mr. Vivek Reddy conceding that you don't have any other better, higher sort of people that can raise to a higher level within the BJP, that you had to appoint such people? You don't have any other women?
Right. I just want to give one response back to Mr. Veerappa Moily, who's still with us, former Chief Minister of Karnataka. Mr. Moily, do you agree with Vivek Reddy's rebuttal to the points that you had raised? He said that the centre has released money, it will come, it is on its way to the state, and that the Karnataka government, led by Mr. Yediyurappa, has done an excellent job in flood relief.
Yeah, I will tell you. He has done excellent work by transferring more than 10 to 15 deputy commissioners who should be in charge of this flood, managing it. Many engineers they have transferred. So, superintendent of police of the districts, they have been transferred, and it's even the secretariat number of officers have been transferred. This is the excellent job he has done it. Dislocating the entire administration. And all these officers, instead of going to the place and going to the rescue of the people, they go around chief minister or his son for a transfer. Everybody feels that unstable in their own position. Do you think their governance could be done like this? Another point, one point which everybody is talking today, there are two power centers. One is Yediyurappa, another is one BL Santosh. We do not know who is running this government, who is running this state. I don't think we cannot afford to have such a government here. And this Mr. Vivek Reddy, I don't know, he's so much obsessed with the name of Sonia ji and also the Rahul Gandhi. What way they are concerned in this, in this maladministration, the anarchy which is prevailing in this state. So that is why I am telling you, what is that excellent job? You are rightly said, they are according to Vivek Reddy, he has given a good certificate to everybody, including the poor viewers in the assembly. They are the best people, rest of them are not the best people.
In fact,
so this is the message they are sending down. Of course, we know very well that even Yediyurappa is accredited to get a credit that he is the only chief minister when he was a chief minister earlier who has gone to jail. With such people, how do you expect any merit any quality or any virtue.
Well, we have Neha on the phone line right now with details of that cabinet expansion. Neha, we understand 3 deputy chief ministers have been announced for Karnataka. What will these 3 deputy chief ministers do?
Well, absolutely, Faye. In a first that, Karnataka is seeing, it seems like there are 3 deputy chief ministers. And of course, there was a lot of speculation doing the rounds about, satisfying all of these ministers' plump posts. This clearly...
Neha?
Yes.
Yes. Go on. You said that this was done to satisfy a lot of the people, but I want to understand what is their role? What does anyone need 3 deputy chief ministers for?
Well, absolutely, Faye. Of course, at this point of time, like I was mentioning, that, it is a task for Mr. BS Yediyurappa to be able to keep all of the ministers satisfied, because at the end of the day, do remember, the last thing that the BJP wants on their hands right now is dissidents. And the fact that there were so many plump posts up for grabs and there were so many aspirants also, it seems like this move, thinking of it in terms of administration, of course, can really be debated as to what 3 deputy chief ministers would do. And, power, of course, just being distributed. Whether, of course, this would really make sense or not in a state like Karnataka, that is something that can be debated. But do remember that this is something that comes because this was, we were, of course, hearing about this, a possibility of more than 2 deputy chief ministers. But also now looking at the other posts that they've been given, it seems like a lot of thought ideally went into this because do remember that even on the day that the cabinet was expanded, there were a lot of other MLAs that protested out in the open, that staged, of course, now, they've openly come out in dissent and said that, if we were not allocated any portfolios, that there was a possible chance of rebellion. So how far is this really going to go ahead and quell that? That is something that we'll have to wait and see. But clearly, of course, the people of the state have really had enough. And hopefully, now that the portfolio allocation is done, we should see some work picking up on ground, Faye.
All right, let me quickly bring in a voice from Vivek Reddy. Vivek Reddy, 3 deputy chief ministers to assist Yediyurappa. It's curious to know why he would need 3 deputy chief ministers. Also, what work will this government take up immediately? Can you give us an idea of what the priorities are now for this cabinet?
Well, I think the flood relief, Bangalore development, and various other infrastructure projects that have been pending, the cleanliness drive for Bangalore, I think these are the issues that will be taken up. Also, they will have to address drought-hit areas and farmer relief. These are the distress situations that Karnataka is facing. Flood relief on the one end and drought relief on the other end. These are the priorities. Faye, I think the 3 deputy chief ministers is part of the thinking of the BJP that there is the power centers have to be decentralized and there should be more responsibility that has to be shared. It will also ensure that the 3 deputy chief ministers will also be able to work ably in order to ensure that there is good delivery ultimately and good governance. I think with this insight, with public interest
is there
insight,
a
this has
lack
been
of
made.
faith?
The BJP government is yet to start. It is 20 days. And I don't think other panelists, co-panelists, with all due respect to the co-panelists, I think they have to give the BJP all the chance. We're expecting that it will do good. Rather than going to blame game even at the raw stages of 20 days of the government.
Vivek Reddy.
I think that has to be, that is a correction that I see.
All right. Is there
Please
a lack
judge
of
us
faith
on what we
in
have done,
Mr. Yediyurappa from the party high command,
achieved,
which is why they wanted to have 3 deputies?
Not at all, Faye. I don't think there is any lack of faith. In fact, the party has restored the fact that Mr. Yediyurappa has been the single choice for chief minister reflects the faith in him. And that there is no alternative for him. But there has to be a decentralization of power, and that is why this has been effected, so that there will be other persons also who will look after, who will share the burden of governance. And that is a good thing.
We're going to leave it here, but I will promise Vivek Reddy. Yes. Vivek Reddy and the newly formed cabinet in Karnataka and the rest of our panelists, we will promise you one thing. All of these promises that infrastructure will be developed, Bangalore will be looked at, water, air, rivers, flood, drought, farmer. We will track this piece by piece, portfolio by portfolio, file by file. So the work better get done. You have now got power, you've got a cabinet, and we'll be tracking every single move of every single government, because now that is our job. Well, the Madras High Court has expressed displeasure over separate crematoriums for Dalits. Now, you'll remember, viewers, there was a viral visual that went completely viral over the internet, and this was that visual, the video of Dalits having to lower a loved one, the dead body of a loved one, from a bridge because they were not allowed to walk over certain land. Now, this visual went viral, and today the Madras High Court took suo motu cognizance while hearing a case on discrimination. It's where a group of Dalits were forced to lower a man's body from the bridge because they weren't allowed passage to the crematorium. The court has rapped the state government on the knuckles over having separate crematoriums for Dalits and for everybody else, and questioned the necessity of separate crematoriums. In fact, my colleague Pramod joins us live right now from Chennai. Pramod, if you could just help us understand, from what we're given to understand is that this practice is not new. It's been going on for at least 4 years. So was the district collector aware, or did he just simply choose to look the other way?
Well, the interesting fact here is that, like Madras High Court, suo motu took this case, and that actually was a turning point, because until then, nobody could come forward and actually give some kind of importance to it, because the people, the victims, could not come forward and file a case. They were afraid of repercussions. But at the same time, after this became an issue, we did contact the district collector. In fact, we had to give him information about certain things, of what's going on over there, because he very categorically tried to clear the air by saying that there was no caste discrimination over there, and there was just like no passage was allowed. Then we had to explain to him that if there is a bridge, there must be a way to the bank, because generally the government will not allow anybody to encroach all the way up to the bridge's wall, which is common sense. And he then said he will talk to the Tahsildar and let us know. In between, the Tahsildar had gone ahead and he has allotted half an acre land for them to actually cremate their dead bodies. But at the same time, we also started, we approached the family members to ask them, were they satisfied with this? Would they call it as a relief? And even then, they were in a panic mode, and they actually gave us an explanation which seems we are unable to actually understand it, because very clearly one of the victims' relatives came forward and said that even now, the land that has been allotted now, they have to go through an upper caste community settlement, and they will not allow them, because they consider that if the Dalit community, as they walk with the dead body, they will be spewing flowers and crackers, and that waste the upper caste community claims that they will not clean. So that is how the problem will arise over there. We did put forward this question to the district collector, but he completely said like nothing like that and everything will be fine. But I have to tell you, not just this particular village, after Madras High Court come forward and asked this particular question whether Tamil Nadu government is actually for caste discrimination by providing them a separate land for the crematorium. The thing is that even in Tamil Nadu right now, many areas, Dalits stay in a place called as colony. That is outside the village. This practice did not start right now. It's been here for centuries, and until now, Tamil Nadu government has not done anything to clear it away. And it doesn't seem like they are in a position to actually give an answer to the Madras High Court's questions from today.
All right, Pramod, many thanks for bringing us that story. Of course, a very disturbing visual that people saw across the country and were very concerned about. Pramod explaining to us what's happening here. Basically, in order to access the crematorium, the Dalit community have to walk through the neighborhood or through the land of upper caste community, and they don't allow them to carry their dead through the land, because they say that the flowers and the crackers would fall on the ground and the upper class community will not clean it up. The court has now taken cognizance, but this is unfortunately the reality of caste discrimination in our country today. Well, the Prime Minister Narendra Modi sent a strong message on Kashmir when meeting with the U.S. President Donald Trump on the sidelines of the G7 summit in France. Now, responding to questions from the media, Prime Minister Modi said that Kashmir is a bilateral issue and both India and Pakistan are capable of handling it and working towards a solution. President Donald Trump said that he has spoken with Prime Minister Modi. He's acknowledged that Modi feels that the situation is under control. Now, viewers would remember that President Trump had earlier offered to mediate between India and Pakistan on Kashmir not once, but twice. The two leaders said that they discussed trade relations as well as the Kashmir issue today on the sidelines of the summit.
Mr. President, can you clarify your position on whether you will mediate on Kashmir, please?
Well, we spoke last night about Kashmir, and the Prime Minister really feels he has it under control. I know they speak with Pakistan, and I'm sure that they will be able to do something that will be very good. We spoke about it last night at Guerrero.
Mr. President, is that offer still on the table?
I'm here. Yes, we have a very good relationship with both gentlemen, and I'm here. If for any reason, but I think they can do it themselves. They've been doing it for a long time.
भारत और पाकिस्तान के सारे इश्यूज बायलैटरल हैं और इसलिए हम दुनिया के किसी भी देश को इनके लिए कष्ट नहीं देते हैं और मुझे विश्वास है कि भारत और पाकिस्तान जो 1947 के पहले एक ही थे, हम मिलजुल करके हमारी समस्याओं पर चर्चा भी कर सकते हैं और समाधान भी कर सकते हैं.
And of course, as you can see on your screen, there a lot was said today about the sort of comfortable body language between the two heads of state. That you can see Donald Trump and Narendra Modi exchanging a laugh in that particular incident. Of course, Modi was answering a question in Hindi, and Donald Trump reached over to say that his English is actually very good. He's just choosing not to speak English. And they shared a joke and held hands briefly. While they laughed. So Prime Minister, in fact, has just boarded a plane to return to India after that three-country visit, which he ended in France. There you can see, what's been pointed out is the general level of comfort between Donald Trump and Narendra Modi. And the concern, of course, the point of concern up till now was Trump having mentioned more than once that he has he had been requested to mediate between India and Pakistan, or that he was prepared to mediate between India and Pakistan. But that has all been cleared up now, as he has quite clearly said that that India and Pakistan both can handle issues bilaterally. There is no need for a third country to intervene or to step in, and that he believes that the Prime Minister has the situation under control, and this is a huge global diplomacy victory here for India and for Prime Minister Modi, because India has always maintained since the very beginning that we do not need the intervention of a third country, whether US or not, in matters between India and Pakistan, and matters of Kashmir are specifically internal matters. In fact, we'll just quickly listen into the initial statement that Trump had made about wanting to mediate between India and Pakistan.
I was with Prime Minister Modi 2 weeks ago, and we talked about this subject. And he actually said, "Would you like to be a mediator or arbitrator?" I said, "Where?" He said, "Kashmir," because this has been going on for many, many years. I was surprised at how long it's been going on.
70 years.
I think they'd like to see it resolved, and I think you'd like to see it resolved. And if I can help, I would love to be a mediator. It shouldn't be, I mean, it's impossible to believe two incredible countries that are very, very smart, with very smart leadership, can't solve a problem like that. But if you would want me to mediate or arbitrate, I would be willing to do that.
First, that's July 22nd, when Trump was speaking with Imran Khan, and of course, a completely, about turn today while he was speaking with Prime Minister Modi. Veena Sikri joins us right now. She's a former diplomat. Ms. Sikri, good evening, and thank you for joining us. I just want to be able to understand what you see as the big benefit here, or what you see. Do it is being called a massive diplomatic victory for the Prime Minister and for India. Could you help our audience understand the victory a little better, please?
Well, I must say that Prime Minister Modi's visit to the G7 summit, his special invitation by the President of France, has been who matter the most in the Security Council, the biggest economies of the world, and explain to them what is India's very sincere and correct and real position on what has happened about Article 370. I think there had been a lot of confusion over President Trump's position ever since the visit of the Prime Minister of Pakistan to Washington. And I think that has now been clearly cleared up once and for all. And I think that this has been one of the most important and significant outcomes of Prime Minister Modi's visit to G7 and his bilateral discussions with President Trump. I think the words of our spokesperson, Ravish Kumar, were that the meeting with President Trump was warm, productive, and forward-looking. Now, this is important. Each word is significant. Warm, so there was a very good rapport at the bilateral level between the two leaders. Productive, they were very useful discussions, significant subject matter-oriented discussions, and forward-looking. They're looking ahead. They're not looking back at what happened during the visit with Prime Minister Imran Khan or what President Trump sent after that. All that is behind us. We're now looking ahead on what USA and India can do together to build upon their strategic partnership, and the special focus on energy and trade was mentioned, and also President Trump himself mentioned something about defense and security. So obviously, I think this meeting has been very useful to clear up the air, to clear out all the misunderstandings which had bedeviled various media all over the world and various interested parties over the last several weeks. And now we have a very clear situation that this is anything that is to be discussed between India and Pakistan is completely bilateral, and the Prime Minister does not want any third country to be involved. And what has happened on Article 370 is entirely an internal matter for India, and no other country has anything to say on it. And I think that President Trump has now fully and finally accepted this position, and I certainly think that going ahead, this will be very significant for all international discussions on this matter. I think Prime Minister Modi also had a number of other very useful and important meetings with the UN Secretary General. He met Prime Minister of UK, and of course he also met the President of Senegal and I think the President of Chile. Now, I think this has been a very vital and useful occasion for the Prime Minister to clearly set forward India's views very forcefully and very correctly, and clearly it's been accepted. So I think that we can be very satisfied with the outcome and be very confident going ahead that, number one, the changes in Article 370 are an internal matter of India. Number two, that anything to be discussed with Pakistan will be done bilaterally. And certainly, if they want to discuss the Kashmir issue, you know, it's very significant to remember that the Shimla Agreement does not talk about any dispute, just talks about an issue. And certainly the aspect of the issue to India right now is only what is going to happen to Pakistan-occupied Kashmir.
I also want to, I want your help in understanding, of course, India is not part of the G7, which is a group of countries, the group of the most powerful countries, democratic powerful countries in the world. But it was a special invitation to the Prime Minister to be part of this conversation. If you could tell us what the importance of that is, in international diplomacy. And secondly, you did, of course, mention the meeting with the UN Secretary General, where the Prime Minister reiterated again that Kashmir specifically and 370 is an internal issue. So I want to understand from you what you believe both of these two events mean.
I think that the G7, of course, is a meeting of the group of 7 largest economies in the world. At one time, Russia was a part of it, and now they are not. And each time it is hosted turn by turn in different countries. Now, the host president, the host head of government or head of state, has the individual privilege, shall I say, of inviting other special countries who are not members of the G7. And this is entirely up to the host president or prime minister. And they invite those countries who they think are significant on the world stage and who will have a contribution to make to some of the issues, some of the critical issues of the world economy and the world political scene that are going to be discussed at that summit. So President Macron of France did a very special honor to Prime Minister Modi, because a few days ago there was a bilateral visit by Prime Minister Modi to France, which also went very well. And after that, Prime Minister Modi went to the UAE and Bahrain. And both these countries, very significantly, are very good friends of India and very important and key members of the Gulf, of the OIC, very important economic partners and very important leaders of the Muslim world. And both these countries gave India a very warm welcome. welcomed. In the UAE, the Prime Minister of India received the highest civilian honor from the President of the UAE, and this is really from the ruler of the UAE. And this has been a great honor, a significant honor, an honor which seems to have irked our neighboring country, Pakistan, because they cancelled the visit of their own Senate leader to the UAE as a result of this honor having been bestowed on our Prime Minister. So this is, I think, it shows that that the President of France, in inviting India back to France to come to Biarritz and join the G7, is a special honor which he has bestowed on India. And I think he recognized, because we saw in the bilateral visit that the complete synergy of the views between France and India on vital issues. They spoke on Afghanistan, they spoke on what is happening in India, what is happening on the border, everything. And it was a complete synergy of views. So when it comes to Prime Minister Modi being at the G7, you can expect that there would be the strong support of the President of France and his cooperation. And of course, there were key other members, as you know. We saw the UN Secretary General was there.
Unfortunately, I have forgive me for interrupting you, but we've run out of time here, and we have to take a very quick break. When we come back on the other side, we'll take a look at what's going on in Hong Kong, as the police now have fired bullets on those citizens. We'll also take a look at what is being described as the worst possible environment situation that we could possibly have in the world, which is the fire in the Amazon forest, apart from other stories on the other side. Don't go anywhere.